Hey y'all, good morning. I wanted to come talk to y'all. I guess this is kind of like a reaction video, right? Y'all watch Big Ward on here? Like, he's a pro-Trumper, so I know, well, he was. I don't know if he is anymore. He was a pro-Trumper. So, you know, I don't know that many people probably watch him or whatever, but I'm the type of person, I'm open to all perspectives, so I like to study people. I think I've said that before. So I'm open to everything. I listen to everything. I put my bias aside and listen and, you know, everything. So I stumbled across him a long time ago, and I watched one of his videos or something. I can't remember what it was about now, but it was a long time ago. But anyways, he had a video that popped up in my For You page a few days ago, and it was about what was it? Oh, the protests and stuff in Mexico, or not the protests, but the stuff in Mexico that's going on with what they're doing to the Americans and stuff in Mexico. And so the crazy thing is, he said something. And I've always had this thought, y'all. I've always thought this in the back of my mind. But he said something along the lines of, like, you know, can you take your American flags to their country and protest? He was like, you can't do that. You know, you can't go to their country and do that. But y'all let them come here and do that. And I've always kind of thought that. Like, I would be like, you know, it's kind of weird to me that, you know, you're fighting to be treated fairly and all that stuff, but then at the same time you throw the country you're from in our face. Like, do you want to be a part of this country, or do you not want to be a part of this country? I've always thought that part to be weird, right? And then, you know, there were other times when I would be like, is there a little America in China? Now, I've never been to China. I ain't never really had a reason to go. It's something that's on my list, you know, like, okay, yeah, maybe, you know, go see the Great Wall of China and all that, you know. But it's, for me, I really be having to have a reason, and I have not really had a reason. So I've never made my way over there as of yet. But I've always wondered that, like, is there a little America in China too? You know, is there a little America in Tokyo? Is there, you know, in Africa, is there a little America? And I'm like, you know, I don't think so. But it's like, as much as I hate and I despise the things that this country have done to me and to my people, that's one part that I never understood. You know, because even when you go to Mexico, and I think he spoke on this part too. He was like, you know, you have to learn their language. You have to have so much in your account. Like, they have all these stipulations and stuff, you know. But when we say, you know, they need to learn English, then that's a problem. But, you know, when you look at what the requirements is for these other countries, these other places that are outside of here, you will see how lenient we really are. And in me seeing that, I'm like, I see why people think of us as a laughing stock. Because essentially we are. We have no backbone. And we let any and everybody come run over us. Like, if you come to America, do you want to be American? Do you want to be a part of America? Or are you just coming to take resources and send them back home to your people? So you're just coming to siphon resources and send it back to where you're from. And I know plenty of Africans, they do it. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? But when you really look at it from that perspective, it's like, y'all, we should probably be mad at ourselves for inflation. Like, when you really stop and you really think about it, we've let China come in and buy up all this real estate. How? about it, you're like, wait, how is China even buying land in the U.S.? I remember when I first found that out, and I was like, wait, what? Huh? How? What? It don't make sense.
All right, so I'm going to just pause this right here to add real quick. The U.S. owns no land in China. Zilch. None. Nada. The land over there is heavily restricted. Ownership rights are heavily restricted. Now, there may be some other countries that investors might have, but yeah, that's something to think about. And I'm going to add the info from my research to the community page. So check it out.
We have been, I ain't gonna say put to sleep, because that's a little, but we have been sleeping dogs for a while. So much so to the point where, we've been distracted. There you go. We've been distracted by everything, all the politics and everything, and the entertainment. They've kept us real entertained and programmed and all of that. Oh Lord, I'm tapping into my mama tea. But they done kept us real programmed, okay? Very programmed. And all of that. While they took and took and took and took and took and took until there was nothing left. And now we have to fight for the scraps. Now that we are coming to and we're waking up and we want things, we have to fight for the scraps. But it's like when you really stop, y'all, you gotta really stop and think about this. We are to blame for what we are dealing with right now. Americans. Collectively, I don't care if you're a Democrat, if you're a Republican, if you're what do they call them? Liberal. I don't care what you are. Hold on, y'all. I don't care what you are. We are all to blame for what we are dealing with right now. We have just been okay with just enough, with just getting by. Many of us have been just okay with just barely getting by with the government's assistance. Y'all, we are to blame. And I'm sitting here like, thinking about all this, I'm like, oh my God. We are to blame. The people, we can't blame nobody but us right now. Because we let them do it. We let them do it. We are so divided behind politics. Because really, at the end of the day, it all boils down to politics. We are so divided by politics, by racism, by all of these things, that we have literally just laid there and took it all. And guess who got screwed? With no Vaseline. The American people. Collectively, we all still got screwed. No matter how divided we are politically, no matter how divided we are when it comes to our views of this world, we all still got screwed and are still getting screwed collectively. Man, when you really sit with that, you be like, wait a minute. Because I'm really like, wait a minute. They played y'all. They played us. They played all of us. Really and truly, they played all of us. They told us to go to college, get an education, and now look at all of us with college debt that for degrees we ain't even using. I got a business degree that I don't even use. Degrees we ain't even using. Like, what? Like, y'all, what I learned there I could have learned on my own. And that's part of the reason why I was like, you know what? Why am I doing this? Why? And I didn't pursue my bachelor's or my master's. I was like, why am I doing this? Everything they are teaching me, I already know where I can learn. Like, it came to a point when I realized, I was like, this don't even make no sense. And so I told somebody, I said, you know what? I'll go back and get my master's when I can pay for it in cash. And I stand on that, because it ain't nothing to go to school and get a master's. Let me be very clear. When you have the finances to do it, it ain't nothing to do. It ain't nothing to do to get a doctor, to do none of that. When you have the finances behind you, because you don't have no worries. Now, when you are a struggling student, struggling to pay and make ends meet, wondering where your next meal gonna come from, and all of that, it's harder. It's a lot harder. It's a whole lot harder, right? But when you have it, it's a lot easier. That's why you see all of these millionaires, they'll pop out, they got a doctorate all of a sudden. You be like, well, I know you was book smart, baby. Baby, look, when you have the resources, you can do anything when you have the resources to achieve it. So, we don't have the resources because we've allowed all of our resources to be given away. So how do we fix this? What do we do? How do we go about taking back what's ours, right? Essentially, because as Americans, we have essentially given away what was ours. So how do we go about taking back what was ours? How do we go about getting that back? Oh, my stomach. Y'all hear that? And I wish my mama dad was here, because then I could, talk to her, but she had dementia, Alzheimer's. Excuse me. She had Alzheimer's. So when I finally started getting to the age where I knew about certain things that I wanted more and I needed her to clarify, it was too late, because she already had Alzheimer's. And that's how I triggered her. I think I told y'all that story in another video a long time ago, when I triggered her when I was asking her about the Tulsa massacre, and she started freaking out. Hold on, y'all. But I asked her about the race riot, and she lost it. So, that happened. I was fortunate enough to grow up with my great-grandmother and my great-great-grandmother. I was fortunate enough to know both of them. And so my great-great-grandmother made sure that all of us knew we were Cherokee. We were Cherokee Native Americans. She made sure we knew that. If it was one thing Big Mama passed down, it was the fact that we were Cherokee. And don't let them tell you anything differently. The blood from her family is Cherokee. So I know, you know what I'm saying? But she knew back then what they were going to try to do. They were going to try to label us as black, as African Americans, and all this other stuff, when we are native to this land. My great-great-grandmother knew that. And I never understood why she was always trying to drill that into us. Let me change these shoes, y'all. I have on my rain boots because it's been raining while I was doing these orders. I took my tennis shoes off. I need to put my tennis shoes back on and stuff so I can go do this order real quick. But she always wanted for us to know that we were Native American. Always. And we were Cherokee on her end. When my granddad died, my mom's dad, I never got to know him in life because of race stuff, y'all. He was an Irish man. He was a descendant of an Irish woman. And, you know, it was so segregated. They were so segregated, which is crazy because they treated Irish people just like they treated us, you know. But his mother forbid him from being with my grandmother. And so we never knew. I didn't grow up with him. It was only in his passing where we were invited, you know, and introduced. Ooh, I don't like that. And introduced to, it was, hold on now, because I don't want my chest is sitting out hanging out. Okay. It was only in his passing that we were introduced to his children from his other wives and all that stuff. And, you know, the one thing he wanted, did I break my nail? I done broke a whole nail, Lord. Look at that. I ain't gonna have no nails left to do them on Monday. And he had papers drawn up for each of us. We all got a folder. And in that folder, it had all of our family history from his side, all the way back to the first person that came across that water from Ireland. So, and it's interesting, you know, to be able to look and see whose kids is whose, and, you know, where we really come from. It's so interesting. But I say all that to say, though he may be a Trumper, because like I said, I don't know if he's still a Trump or not. He used to be. He had valid points. And really and truly, at the end of the day, y'all, when we stop and we think about it, we all got screwed. And aren't we tired of getting screwed? Aren't we tired of being messed over? Like, when is enough? When do we as a collective, no matter what you are, oh, let me go in the store. No matter what you are, get tired? When as a collective do we get tired? That's all I want to know. But I got to go do this order. So I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Bye.